Hi guys, in today's video we will be looking at how to register for CAT 2022. So I see a lot of students, they keep on asking a lot of queries. There are a lot of points which we need to keep in mind before filling up the form, and obviously we should be very careful because we are applying to get into our dream colleges, and any mistake can make us land into trouble sometime at a later time, right? So let's try to understand the complete registration process. At the same time, let's also try to understand where are the areas where we might end up committing mistakes. So what we will do is we'll try to avoid those mistakes and see that the form filling is done seamlessly and we are not getting into trouble at all, right? So as we all know that we need to get into the website called iimcat.ac.in, and I have got the screenshot of that. Once you click on that, this is the interface that you get. Now we need to understand these important dates. So August 3rd was when the registration process started, right? And then September 14th, that is a Wednesday, is the last date to fill your form, right? And October 27th, the admit cards will be out, and November 27th we are looking at the D-Day of the examination, right? So if you look at it, you have multiple options here. You have new candidate registration. Now this is where we all fall into. Our job is to click register here, right? Now please understand, some of the students had asked me, is registration of non-IIM institutes for us? No, this is for the institutes altogether. Registered candidate login, this is also not for us. We will be applying this once the registration is done. So our first job is to click on the register for the new candidate registration. Now once you click on that, you get this kind of interface, right? Now with our mistakes start happening from here itself. So the first thing that we need to keep in mind is we are asked the name, our date of birth, our email address, confirming the email address, country and mobile number. Now the biggest problem that I see that happens with a lot of students is the way their name has been mentioned in 10th and Aadhaar, right? They do not try to, or they do not use that as their usual name. So it's very important for you to enter the name as it is mentioned in 10th, 12th mark sheet as well as Aadhaar card, right? And the same date of birth also has to be followed, whatever is mentioned there. Now once you fill this, once you confirm your mobile number, you get an OTP on your mobile, right, as well as your email address. Now once you get the OTP, once you click on it, you get an OTP entering point here. So once we enter the OTP, we have to click on the declaration altogether and we have to enter the captcha and our job gets over. So after this, you get the proper login ID and password in your mobile, the number that you have given here, as well as your email address. This might take a few minutes, so do not panic if it takes a few minutes for you to receive the email, receive the email as well as the message altogether. Right, now when I move forward, once I get my login, right, and when you enter, you will be getting your name, which is automatically filled, which you have already filled while registering your name as a new candidate registration. Right, now this is an area, personal details is also a very important area where we need to be a little more careful about a lot of things, right? Like your first name and your last name again has to match the way you have mentioned it here, as well as the way it appears in your 10th, 12th and Aadhaar card as well. Clear? Father's name, mother's name, right, and spouse's name, which is not really important. Now date of birth, which we had mentioned earlier, comes automatically here, right? So we can select the gender. You will have male, female and transgender. Nationality, yet you can click. Now this is an area which is very important, the category, right? So I'll discuss in the coming slides what is a very important part here in category. So you will have to choose your category. We have general, EWS, right, and then we have SC, we have ST, and then we have OBC, and then we also have PWD category as well. So since it is mentioned here, do you belong to persons with disabilities as per our PWD Act 2016? If yes, then click here. You also see your first vaccination date and second vaccination date, but there is no star mark there, which means even if you don't remember them or even if you do not have the certificate, it's okay. Do not worry about it. You can leave that place as a blank and you can move forward. Right. So after this, what comes into the picture? As I told you, category is really important. Once you click on EWS, this is how you get your information, because general category is nothing asked. You keep moving ahead if you are mentioning general, but if I'm showing either I'm falling under EWS, NCOBC, SC or ST category, we need to show them valid proofs or valid documents, right? So EWS category, now we need to ensure that the certificate issue date is also mentioned, the state or union territory, and the caste or tribe name, which is not, yeah, the caste or tribe name is also important. You can mention as it is mentioned in your certificate. Clear? So this is also not too much of a problem. Now sometimes again one of the students asked me, serial number is not mentioned in your certificate. Now that is the reason there is no asterisk mark here. If serial number is not mentioned and there is no asterisk mark, you can as well leave it. But do look at the certificate very carefully. In case serial number is issued, please mention the same serial number which has been issued by your authority altogether. Right? Now when I click NCOBC, and when I click on, so NCOBC, you get again certificate issue date. You click on, union territories and the state. Now, if you click on this I button, this takes you to the Ministry of Government's website. There, please understand your NCOBC or your caste or the caste or tribe name has to be registered in that website. Clear? So the serial number is very important there, and the caste or tribe name as mentioned in the certificate, you have to mention it here. Clear? Similarly, SC category also the same things will be following, and so is with ST category. Right? Now please understand that you need to have a freshly issued certificate, because this will be required when you upload your passport size photograph as well. So please be a little careful when you start filling up the CAT form. It's very important for you to already have a freshly issued certificate which is issued by the government authority, and then you start filling the form. That will make your job a lot more easier. Right? Now, a few doubts that generally students ask: which documents must I submit for SC and ST category? Now, if you are belonging to this category, the caste or tribe must be listed in Government of India schedule, right? So, for more information, you can visit this website, which is socialjustice.nic.in, or you can also go ahead with www.tribal.nic.in. Clear? Now, the caste certificate that you will be uploading in the application form should be in the government approved format, right? The certificate format is available in the CAT website as well. So when you scroll down in the home page, you'll get a lot of PDFs which are given by the IIMs, and that makes your process pretty easy in a way, okay? Now, whether you belong to SC or ST tribe should be mentioned in the certificate, the district or the state or the union territory of your residence. Clear? The appropriate Government of India schedule under which your caste has been classified, and then the signature of the required authority. It's very important for us to understand these all things are mentioned in our certificate. So please get your certificate ready. You want a pro forma, go to the IIM's website, the home page, go to the bottom of that, you will see a lot of pro formas available. So please ensure that you are going ahead and getting the required certificate, and then you start filling the CAT form. Right? Now, again, a lot of questions sometimes asked, do I belong to NC or NCOBC category? Again, the same thing. Please go to ncbc.nic.in. Your caste or your tribe should be mentioned there. Only then you belong to NCOBC category. Similarly, do I belong to EWS category? The same thing. The website is already given in the IIM's website as well. So please go to dopt.gov.in website and see that your caste should have been registered there. Right? So what do I do if I do not have the certificate with me, or which is valid as on date, and due to coronavirus situation I'm not in a position to give a fresh or a renewed certificate? You may upload a duly filled undertaking. Again, undertaking pro forma is given in the home page. Right? Now, please note that at the time of personal interviews, you have to ensure that the certificate is with you. If for the time being you do not have a freshly issued certificate, you can as well apply, or you can upload the undertaking, but apply for the fresh certificate, and during the time of interviews, which is precisely January or so, you should ensure that the certificate or freshly issued certificate should be with you. Only then your interview process will be taken forward. Right? Now, after this, if I click on, do I belong to persons with disabilities? Now, again, you'll have a lot of points here. You need to have your disability measurable, right? Then PWD UDID number, that will be given on your certificate, and also you need to click at PWD category. Now, two more informations you'll have to give. Point number one, do you require a wheelchair support in the test center? And point number two, would you require a scribe for writing the test? right? So once you fill in the required information, then accordingly the process will be arranged for PWD students to write the examination and conduct in that manner altogether. Now after this part is over, you can take a deep breath that at least the first critical area of filling the form is over. Now let's enter into the next part. Now comes the other personal details like your address, your alternate email address, right? And then emergency contact details where you have to mention your mobile number and relationship with the candidate. My sincere advice, please ensure that you are giving the number of your parents, or at least not a friend who is also writing CAT along with you, right? So you never know what would be the emergency to to contact the required person. So please ensure you are giving the number of the person who is not writing the CAT examination along with you. Now the next part comes is, how do I upload the photograph? Now before uploading the photograph, when you click here for photo specification and samples, you will see a PDF of this kind coming up, which is very clearly stating what kind of photograph you need. But just to sum it up, you need a plain photograph with a white or an off-white background, and it should be like you are standing in front of the camera, and it's clearly mentioned that your neck should also be seen. You can see here your white background or off-white background with full face, neck, shoulders, front views and eyes open. You cannot stand tilted there. A front view is very important. The size file should be 1 MB, and I would advise, please go and get a freshly taken passport size photograph at the studio. You can ask him that you need it in JPEG or JPG format and the file size of 1 MB. That person will give you an original with proper resolution. You'll get a photograph as well as a reduced size of photographs. Do not try to use smart measures where you're taking a photograph from your mobile with a white background. Let's not take the risk, guys. It's a very important exam to us, so it's very important for us to ensure that we are taking the right steps. So we still have a lot of time to fill the form. So I would say go get a freshly taken passport size photograph and then apply it in your CAT form. The same thing is for signature as well. Your signature size has also been mentioned, so please ensure that you're taking a proper signature, taking a proper photo and uploading the scanned documents of your photograph and signature. This is for general category students. Now when you are going from a category point of view, now this is how you get the photograph thing. So to upload scanned copy of photograph and signature, this is the point, but at the same time you have one more tab where you have to upload your either certificate or the undertaking. It's either NCA OBC or PWD, SC/ST and EWS also comes here. PWD certificate is also very important. So please ensure that you have the certificate ready before you are going ahead with application process, right? Now comes the next important area, which is academics. Again, a very common area where students commit a lot of mistakes, right? So let's take one by one. So your equivalent board, right? Maybe state board or ICSE or CHSE or CBSE and so on, so on, so on. What if your specific board is not there? Scroll down, there is an option called others. When you click on others, you get an option to also type the name of the board, or type the name of the board from where you have done your 10th class. Month and year of completion, please get your 10th class certificate in front of you. Please check the month and year of completion there. Now maximum marks, this has been the most controversial area every year. So students sometimes say that my university considers only the top 5, or ICSE considers the best 5 marks and not all the marks. So this year they are very clearly specified that maximum marks should be inclusive of all the subjects which are mentioned in your mark sheet, not the top 5 or top 7. It won't be considered as per your board, okay, irrespective of the board's regulation. So whatever is mentioned in your sheet, all the marks, so you have to consider the sum total of all the marks that you got, okay, maximum marks obtained, and the total maximum marks of all the subjects should be mentioned. Do not commit this mistake, right? And total marks obtained and aggregate percentage. Now a lot of boards give you CGPA, right? So this is also very commonly committed mistake area. Now if you're given a CGPA, Now your board would have clearly specified in the certificate how do you convert CGPA into percentage. Point number 1. Now point number 2, be very careful and be very thorough in case your board has not specified you any conversion altogether. You can either multiply it by 10, or it is very clearly mentioned that if it is not mentioned, you can see, for example, all you can do is, it's mentioned here, if there is no scheme of conversion of CGPA or into equivalent marks, the equivalence would be established by dividing a candidate's CGPA by maximum possible CGPA into 100. So you are given the conversion here, your CGPA divided by the maximum CGPA into 100, which is a plain percentage calculation. But please remember, total maximum marks, preferably have the certificate in front of you, understand the marking scheme, and then move forward, right? So this is how and also one more thing, if your aggregate percentage should be rounded off to 2 decimal points, and the example is also given, if you have 70.16, make it as 70.17, right? The same thing goes with your 12th. In 12th, you have 2 options. Are you a 12th or equivalent, or a diploma holder? Clear? A diploma holder, I have mentioned, this is how your screen looks like for diploma holder. Now again, equivalent board, if your board is not mentioned, others, month and year of completion, and the same rule applies here. You'll have to select your discipline. Maximum marks and total marks obtained, the same rules apply. You have to include all the subjects. So aggregate marks of all the subjects are required. Aggregate percentage should be rounded off. Pause, calculate. If you have a doubt, ask your friend to calculate it for you, and then ensure that you are ready with your exact marks, and then you start filling it. For a diploma holder, this is how your form would look like. But again, an area where we commit a lot of mistakes. So try not to commit a mistake. In case you commit a mistake, I'll also tell you how to rectify those mistakes at a later date. Okay. Now the next thing comes is bachelor's degree. Are you in final year? Yes, no. Have you completed bachelor's degree? Yes, no. If you are in final year, this is how you look at which semester are you in, type of university, and discipline, graduation stream, and so on, so on, so on. Please look at this, that marks have been looked at till whatever semester you have written. Right, so look at your university's certificate. If you have done like the 3rd semester, your marks till 3rd semester, you can mention it here, and that would be considered for evaluation altogether, right? And you also have this option if you have a dual degree with a bachelor's and master's. If you click on that, again you have separate options altogether. Now, if you are not in the final year of graduation, which means you have completed your graduation, obviously, yes, you have completed your graduation, then this is how you go ahead with the complete filling up the form. Same rules apply. The total marks rounded off, maximum marks as a percentage, year of completion, and so on and so on and so on, right? So please ensure that again your certificate is with you, you are clear with, in case you are in college, which stream and which semester you are in, and the same happens in case you are out of your college, right? And if you have a dual degree, then this is how it looks like. Click here if you have more than one bachelor's degree. If you click yes, then you get, are you in final years of your 2nd bachelor degree, and have you completed your 2nd bachelor degree. That's the only thing that they are looking at. Master's degree, in case you have one, same rules apply. In progress or completed, right? If you click in progress, again you will be having to, you'll be required to apply which year of master's degree you are into, and so on and so on and so on. Please ensure all the details are mentioned correctly, because this will be considered while giving you a call for GDPI, and any discrepancy here might lead to disqualification of marks, of your interview itself or your candidature itself altogether. Now comes other professional degrees. So in case you have done other professional degrees, right? So you can click if it's a yes. Are you a fellow actuaries? If you click a yes, you'll have to fill all the final marks. Other professional degrees like CA, ICWA, and CS, again they have in progress, completed options, and you also will have to enter your marks and percentage of marks in the whole process here. Clear? So this sums up the educational details part. You need to understand that your entry of percentage is very important there, right? That is an area where generally students commit a mistake, and year of passing. Clear? So these are the 2 things of calculation of percentage, CGPA to percentage conversion. Be very careful while filling up this form, right? Now, again, a very important area called work experience. Freshers generally have a doubt here. They ask me that, should I consider internship as work experience? Please understand, it's very clearly mentioned that only full-time experience after graduation should be mentioned. Clear? Right? And most importantly, the work ex as on July 31st, 2022 should be considered. Right? So do not count until December or January altogether. Right? Next part is part-time internships or pre-graduation experience is never considered as work experience. This is something which is very important for all of us to understand. We will mention them in our resume, but it has no place in our interview form, right? So full-time paid experience after graduation should be mentioned. Be very clear how many days of break do you have. You have to fill which sector you are in. If your sector is not mentioned here, click on others and proceed with the filling up of the form. And I repeat, please calculate work experience as on July 31st, 2022. It's very important of that point altogether. Now, one more commonly asked question is, what if I am working in my father's company, like family business? Again, you can mention that here, but you need to have valid proof, and same applies to anything. You can't say that I worked with a company but I do not have the certificate of that company. You need to have a valid proof, because before you go for the interview, all these things that you have mentioned, you'll have to submit the original documents of all the things that you have mentioned. And IIMs consider work experience before giving you a call for GDNPI. So please remember, any discrepancy which affects your decision making process, you might be disqualified from the process. So first check whether you have the bank statements, the salary slips, or maybe you have the work experience letter where the company states that you have been working from so and so date with that company. Right? So all those documents are important. In case you do not have something, I would advise you not to fill here, or contact the concerned company and try to get an original certificate once again. Right? So please be careful with this part here. Now this is an area where, generally a lot of students ask me a lot of doubts that, which programs should we fill for. So I'll tell you a few fun facts. Point number one, you are paying 2,300 rupees for all the programs, right? Point number two, you have an option called select all option. You click them, then all the colleges are applied to. Because I have had students who were like, I have not applied to any college except ABC and IKL. Right? Now please understand, if we have an option to select all of them, let's reject it after we convert the interviews. But let's not do that mistake of, not ticking here. On a safe side, I would advise you to click on select all the, all the programs will be selected. Point number one. Okay. Now, second point I would like to advise you is, this is also a chance for you to understand different types of programs that the college offers. I advise this to all my students. You should be clear of what programs are offered. So click on select all, but go back to the IIM websites and also check what program is offered and what is the importance of that program. It's very important to have a good general knowledge when we are looking at these kind of programs altogether. Right? Now, interview city preference. Please be ready that if in case the institute asks you to come to off campus or offline interviews, because for last 2 to 3 years interview process has been online, but in case it's an offline interview process, you'll have to travel to those cities. Now your interviews might happen as early as Jan ending, right, to as late as April ending. So it's very important for you to start understanding that from January to April, where would you be? Accordingly choose the interview preference, because changing the city becomes a little more difficult for us. So please do that while selecting this here, right? Select all the programs. Sometimes student asks this question that if I apply to both PGP and FABM, will I ask in the interview room that why did you choose the other, or were you confused while choosing and that's why you chose both of them? Please understand, in none of the interviews you are asked these questions. In fact, the panels will be very different, and they also understand that you are trying to avoid the risk, therefore you are applying to all the programs. So you're trying to spread the risk. So do not worry, select all, but for your general awareness, I would say go to IIM Ahmedabad's website, check what is FABM, check what is EPGD ABA, and so on and so on and so on. Eventually, it's a dream career that we have chosen. So please do not commit that mistake. Okay. Now, one more commonly committed mistake area is your interview cities or your test city majorly. Same mistake that we commit for the interviews. You are writing your exam on November 27th. So try to plan a little carefully that in the month of November, where would you be? Point number one. Point number two, changing the test center is, I guess, next to impossible in CAT. Once you have chosen a test center, you will not be given a chance to write it in another center. Lot of preferences are given. There's a myth that if I fill the form early, then I might get slot 1 or I might get a city of my preference. Nothing of that sort. Yeah, apply it early, but all I would advise is be ready with all the state or all the documents like passport photo, signature, your caste certificate, your mark sheet, conversion. Once you're ready with all those things, then I would advise you to start fill the form. But all the other things that you have heard are myths. Do not be in a hurry. Take your time, fill everything carefully, go to save next. Now the most important point is when you go to the payment mode, you have something called preview option. I would say click on preview, right? Take a printout of it, sleep on it for a day or two, check carefully. If required, ask your brother or ask some of your friends to check it carefully in case you have committed a mistake, because there's still an option to go back. But once you have made the payment, you do not have an option to go back and and forth altogether. So this is the last step, payment, which is not important, but I would advise you preview it and then ensure that you are moving forward. Clear? So this is all about the CAT form, guys. Now I was about to tell you what if you commit a mistake in the whole process. So CAT opens the window for you to edit the form, point number one. Or point number two, the mistakes that you commit, if they are not affecting your admission criteria, then they can be rectified altogether. Let's say IIM Ahmedabad gives equal marks to 80% and above, and instead of 87 you mentioned 89. It won't make too much of a difference. But yes, if let's say in work experience you added 2 years of work experience, but you do not have documents to prove 2 years of experience, then it might be very dangerous, because IIMs consider your work experience before giving you a call. So you need to be very careful with those kind of decisions to be taken, right? But I would say if we are very careful from now, attending this video, taking that required steps, then I think your job is going to be pretty easy. So all the best, guys. Be ready with the documents, be careful, take your time, do preview it, do print it, do proofread it, ask your friends to proofread it, and then ensure that you're filling the form without any hassles. In case you have any other doubts, you can go to the iimcat.ac.in website. You have an FAQ sections, point number one. Lot of FAQs are mentioned. Please go through them before filling the form. Point number two, there's always a helpline number mentioned in the website, right? So you can contact them well in advance. We are just, in the first week of, first 10 days of August. So we still have time. You have some doubts, you can just mail them or you can call them. They will definitely help you with all the queries that you have. Also, when you go to IIMCAT website, there is a video which is also giving you the complete detailed process of all these things which are required. So all the best, guys. Fill the form nicely and fill the form error free. Thank you.